traffic penalty into the traffic court shall be entitled to relief from conviction in respect of that offense, and proceedings shall not be pursued against the person for that offense. Part 5, which deals with the nullification and expungement of demerit points, makes provision for the expungement of all demerit points recorded against the licenses of any motorist who has received a traffic ticket and made payment prior to February 1, 2023. Part 6 addresses the nullification of traffic tickets issued before February 1, 2018, for which payment of outstanding penalties have not been made and are now rendered void and of no effect. Part 7 sets out the duration of the Act. It sets the expiration date of the Act to be January 31, 2023. This Act offers all motorists who have tickets still unpaid the opportunity to clear these matters from their driving record, and for all who have made their payments, a clean slate without demerit points when the Road Traffic Act 2018 is brought into force. I therefore implore all motorists who still have outstanding tickets to appear early before the traffic court, and if they are having challenges in paying their traffic tickets, to indicate their difficulty to the courts to see whether any appropriate arrangement can be made with the court concerning the payments. After the reprieve expires, tickets that remain outstanding will be enforced in accordance with the new provisions to include suspension of licenses. Your past mistakes do not have to be carried forward if you take action now to attend court, and you will face no fear of suspension going forward if you obey the rules of the road and avoid getting tickets. That is the presentation, Madam Speaker, if so pleases you.
You want to speak first? Yeah. Can I have the thanks. Madam Speaker, this bill is problematic. Indeed, I don't think I've encountered a bill quite like this in my roughly, I think, 16 years as a parliamentarian. It says that the Act shall continue in force from the date of commencement and expires on January 31, 2023, which is next Tuesday. The date of commencement of this Act is likely to be Monday or Tuesday if the bureaucratic machinery tries its best to expedite that, because it has to go to the Senate, presumably tomorrow. Then the Attorney General's chambers have to certify its constitutionality, and then it has to go to the GG for his assent, and then it has to be gazetted. A notice has to be gazetted of the enactment. This means, for example, that the arrangements that have been put in place for January so far would not have occurred during the time in which the Act is in operation, which raises legal questions as to the efficacy of the reprieve provisions in relation to the fine and the demerit points for persons who have already, in reliance on public announcements, gone ahead and paid tickets in reasonable expectation that they would get the benefit of the reprieve. It really doesn't make sense for the window of operation of this act to be so narrow, to be literally a day or two at the maximum. As is well known now, the traffic courts have been deluged, especially in the corporate area, with persons seeking to pay tickets to take advantage of the amnesty, though it's not called an amnesty. But I'm going to refer to it as an amnesty because it's a convenient phrase to describe what this is providing for. Persons who have sought to go in there and pay tickets have had to wait very long periods of time. Some of them have been given dates, as I understand it, in March and even April. So it is not working well. And I know that the transport sector is extremely concerned about that. I am not concerned about saving face or any kind of posturing around this issue. What we need is a workable solution that will allow the intent of the bill to be given effect. So when we're in committee, I am going to propose a couple of amendments to this bill. 2 amendments specifically. In one, I will propose an amendment to the definition in Clause 2 of reprieve period, so that rather than say it means a period specified in Section 7, which is a section which says that it continues in force from the date of commencement of the Act, which has not yet happened, and expires on January 31st, 2023, which is Tuesday coming. Rather than say that, it would say the reprieve period means a period commencing on January 1, 2023, which is when I think persons started to act on the assumption that the reprieve would apply to them, and expires or ends on April 30, 2023. That will allow persons to deal with the matter without causing chaos within the traffic court system. This does not in any way impact the bringing into effect of the new act. This can run concurrently in relation to the situation described in here, which is prescribed notices issued during the period from February 1, 2018 and ending on January 1, 2023. Those can continue to be dealt with by the regime under this enactment, but in an orderly way without creating chaos. And I also intend to propose that what is now Section 7 or Clause 7 of the bill be renumbered as 8, and that a new Clause 7 be inserted, essentially to allow qualifying persons to pay the outstanding traffic penalties, either in the traffic court having jurisdiction with respect to the prescribed notice to which the penalty relates, or at any tax collectorate operated by Tax Administration Jamaica, which will further alleviate the congestion, the chaos, the inconvenience being faced by the traffic court, and allow motorists who want to settle this obligation to do so in a much more simple way, where essentially they're just going to pay the fine in the collectorate, as is currently allowed within a 21-day window from the date of the ticket. But given that we're dealing with a 3-year period retroactively, we need a special provision here to allow that to happen. And I'm going to propose language to achieve that. This is going to generate significant revenue for the government, which is a good thing, and also allow the situation to settle down where motorists who owe these outstanding obligations can do so within this window of time without the inconvenience that has now arisen because of the very truncated period which the traffic court was quite frankly not prepared to deal with. And the system has been overloaded. This will enable the system to accommodate it, enable the revenue to be earned, enable the motorists with outstanding tickets to satisfy their liabilities, and we move forward as of February 1, which is my understanding, under the new act going forward in relation to how we regulate road traffic issues. That is my proposal, Madam Speaker, and I have drafted some language for the drafters to consider when that time comes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Member from St. Elizabeth.
Madam Speaker, thank you, and I will come to some of the points raised by the member from St. Andrew South towards the end of my presentation. But Madam Speaker, I rise to contribute on this debate from the perspective of those who treat with road safety. The Prime Minister, who chairs the National Road Safety Council, has asked me to provide oversight for the body, and as such, as recent as this morning, Madam Speaker, I spent some time with a cross-ministerial group and members of the Council examining our road fatality numbers for 2022 and looking at strategies that could be implemented to reduce the carnage on our roads. Madam Speaker, last year we had 425 collisions, and we lost 488 lives on our roads. The largest amount of deaths on our nation's roads in a single year. Members, think of the heartbreak, the mourning, the families that have been upended and are now struggling because the breadwinner, the provider, the mother, the aunt has been killed on our nation's roads. It is worth noting, Madam Speaker, that no one group in our population is responsible for the carnage. In fact, Madam Speaker, private motorcar drivers account for 16% of our fatalities. Motorcycle crashes account for 29% of our fatalities. Unfortunately, virtually all of these collisions were avoidable. And in fact, members, they continue to be caused in the main due to speeding, failing to keep to the left, overtaking the unbroken white line, or overtaking a long line of traffic. Madam Speaker, our Road Traffic Act and the enforcement of same is seen as a tool to allow us to operate safely on our roads. It is a tool to help reduce the deaths. It is a tool to help instill law and order as we traverse our thoroughfares. Our ticketing system, Madam Speaker, is a way to ensure that persons are sanctioned for breaking the existing road code. It is a method to urge compliance and to disincentivize non-compliance. Therefore, it is critical. Unfortunately, across multiple administrations, we have fallen down on the implementation and the enactment of the Road Traffic Act. Madam Speaker, I believe now is the time that all of us across the aisle must commit to do all in our power to make the implementation of our Road Traffic Act a reality. Madam Speaker, let me share with you that it is worth noting that the majority of Jamaicans who receive traffic tickets pay them and pay them in the prescribed time. It is worth noting, Madam Speaker, that a traffic ticket only becomes outstanding, one, after it passes 21 days and it is not paid at the tax office, and two, after the date that was on the ticket for the person to go to court to have the matter adjudicated was not honored. Let me share some figures, members. Since February 1, 2018 to the start of December this year, 2,371,494 tickets were issued. 1,666,371 tickets were paid. In fact, that amounts 71% of the tickets issued. But that is not all, Madam Speaker, because you do have some tickets that were not paid but are in the courts being adjudicated. In fact, Madam Speaker, only 46,000 Jamaicans have 106,070 tickets outstanding as of December this year. Madam Speaker, 45 Jamaicans have over 500 tickets. 1,773 Jamaicans have between 100 and 499 tickets. The majority of our citizens honor their obligation to pay their tickets. Madam Speaker, this government has taken a consistent approach. When we are making a significant policy shift or changes in penalties, we do provide a period for, as they would say, for people to put their house in order. And Madam Speaker, we did this. We did this in 2017, where we provided an amnesty for all tickets from 2010 to be paid. And we did this, Madam Speaker, after stakeholder consultations, especially with our public transportation sector. We granted a traffic ticket amnesty from July to October. But we didn't stop there, Madam Speaker. When we went back and we listened to our stakeholders, we extended that amnesty to run from October to January 13, 2018. And as you review the media discussions around that time, the amnesty was welcomed, and a number of our transport associations heralded the move and said that this would be the birth of a new day in compliance with our Road Traffic Act. So, Madam Speaker, for the record, let it be known that an amnesty that spanned over 6 months was given to treat with tickets from 2010 to 2018. So, Madam Speaker, even now as we move to the implementation stage, and as we look at the bill before us, the government has gone further. What the government has said, if you have a ticket prior to 2018, Madam Speaker, that was outstanding, that ticket upon the commencement and operation of this act becomes null and void. We are wiping away all of those tickets. From February, if you have a ticket prior to February 1, 2018, all of those tickets will become null and void. We are wiping away those tickets, Madam Speaker. We've looked at the system, we've looked at the amnesty, we've listened to the stakeholders. Minister Shaw, Minister Chuck, Minister Chang, and I have met with the associations. We have listened to some of their complaints, and the government in this bill, once it comes into force, is wiping away all of those tickets. There will be null and void. We've gone further. Tickets, Madam Speaker, come with points. So even if you pay your traffic ticket, there are points attached to the traffic ticket. The point system was put in place because the Road Traffic Act tries to ensure that we don't have persons who breach the act multiple times. So what you do, Madam Speaker, outside of the ticket, you get points, and if you accumulate a certain number of points, then there are powers under the act to suspend, disqualify you from having a driver's license. Madam Speaker, when we looked at it, and we recognized that over the years, that point system was not being implemented efficiently, effectively, this bill, Madam Speaker, has said and says that all points associated with driver's license as of February 1st, 2023, so all the points that you would have gotten in all your years of driving, they will be wiped clean. We will have no more points once you have points, and we will start afresh. And we've done that because we are coming with a new point system. So if it used to take you, for example, 14 points to get suspension, it may now take you 10, for example. Because this new Road Traffic Act is trying to get more stringent on how we treat with the road. So the government has said in this act that all your points have been wiped clean. What the government has not said is that the government is not doing an amnesty. This is not an amnesty. This is not meant to be an amnesty. And I will tell you the difference. And I heard my friend, colleague from St. Andrew South advocating for an amnesty. I had indicated, Madam Speaker, that we've done an amnesty before. What we are saying, Madam Speaker, if you have an outstanding ticket, if you did not pay the ticket within 21 days, if you did not go to court on the day that your matter was mentioned, then the matter has to be dealt with through the court. That is what we're saying. We are going to wipe away all the tickets from 2018. We're going to wipe away all the points. So once you have points, when you start, you won't have to worry. If because of the points it will be brought over, your license will be suspended, you will start February 1st afresh. But if you want to treat with the matter, you have to go to the court to have the matter adjudicated on. And you see, the challenge, and this is what we keep doing, Madam Speaker, and there must be a time that we say that we are going to move forward. You see what happens, Madam Speaker? Based on the suggestion by the leader of the opposition, the 45 people with the 500 or more tickets, if you do an amnesty and they're allowed to pay, then that's just it. That is just it. That is just it. What will happen now, Madam Speaker, is that persons will have to go before the judge, have the matter adjudicated upon, and if the judge is so minded, then the judge will give their decision. So, Madam Speaker, I want us to appreciate that in this law, what we have done is we have struck a clear balance. The balance is, on the one hand, we have listened to the transport sector. We have listened to a wide cross-section of persons in relation to challenges that they had with the traffic ticket system before 2018. And we have agreed that those challenges and those outstanding tickets should be null and void. We have listened again in relation to the impact of the points if the points are brought over, and we have said those points will not be brought over. The only matter now is that we have said the route to treat with an outstanding ticket is to go through the traffic court. So, Madam Speaker, I hear the leader of the opposition. But what I see this as is further delay. And to be honest, Madam Speaker, what we have spent a lot of time on is trying to get our systems in order so that come the 1st of February, we will be able to roll out a new road traffic system. Madam Speaker, we spent a lot of time looking at our traffic ticket management system on the technology side. What we want now, Madam Speaker, is that once you get a traffic ticket, it is automatically recorded at the TAJ, it is automatically recorded at the court's office, and when you deal with that ticket, it is automatically removed. What we're doing now, Madam Speaker, is working with the courts so that they infuse technology into what they're doing, especially around traffic ticket. And I'm telling you, up to when we met earlier today, what we're moving is that our judges in the courts, the traffic courts, should have computers that they utilize during the sitting, so when they treat the road traffic ticket issue, they can enter it in real time and the matter be dealt with. What we're moving to, Madam Speaker, is really using the technology to make our management better. We have already sourced 750 handheld traffic ticket dispensers. 450 officers have already been trained, and they will be distributed and will be in use come the 1st of February. Madam Speaker, we never intended to embark on a revenue generation tool. We have done that already, Madam Speaker. We have done that already, Madam Speaker. What we are doing now is to embark on a methodology that will ensure that come the 1st of February, we are ready to go. Madam Speaker, with that said, clearly, we are aware of some of the challenges that people have faced when they go to the court's office. And I know the Minister of Justice has been in contact with the court administration, and they have been looking at the process, Madam Speaker, to see how the process can be more effective and efficient when people go to court. But, Madam Speaker, again, I would have given you the numbers. The vast majority of Jamaicans are not in this category. So, Madam Speaker, I would ask that we proceed with this act, that we seek to have it passed, and we seek to bring it into force so that we are ready for the 1st of February. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just a moment. I just allowing the member to ask a question.
Madam Speaker, permission to speak from a seat that is not my own. For clarity, one question to be answered is in relation to warrants that may have been issued by a particular parish court. Somebody goes to that parish court to treat with it, but the ticket cannot be found. In circumstances like that, how is that treated? I'm not sure if the minister would be able to answer, or maybe
you can assist with that. The member is asking a question that somebody has a ticket they have not paid for, a warrant arises, they go to court, they stand for an entire day, the court says, I cannot deal with you until the warrant is before me. The warrant is not in the parish in which the ticket was received, and the warrant cannot be located in the parish where they probably have sent it to the police station nearest address. What does that person do? They have already spent days before a court, and they are left. 1st of February is coming, and I'm not sure that our traffic courts are aware. Is there a particular section that an attorney or a person can refer to that settles that issue?
So Madam Speaker, I think one of the things that we have to come to terms with is that the tickets that were issued between February 2018 and now would carry over under the new RTA. Those tickets do not go away. Those tickets are carried over once they have not been treated with. So what it means, Madam Speaker, if the person went to court and the warrant could not be found, then time would have to be taken to locate the warrant. Whenever that is found, the matter will be dealt with. the reality, hold on, Madam Speaker, is even if we were to move the date to, for example, April 30th, it would not treat with the matter that is before. So there are some internal challenges in relation to the courts, and I know the courts are working through that, but the reality is that ultimately, if the person has to have the warrant before the court, normally, when the person goes before the court, if they, well, I don't know what would have happened in that situation, but normally a date is given, nonetheless, right? If a date is not given, what would happen, Madam Speaker? Again, the matters are not extinguished with the coming into force of a new act. So the outstanding ticket will still be there, and the person will still be able to treat with it as soon as possible.
Therein lies the danger, though, Minister, because the ticket is outstanding, and while you're locating the warrant, an officer could locate it and find you on a Friday evening, and you are locked up while you have been before the court, and you are making efforts to locate that warrant. So
yeah, but Madam Speaker, just to say to you, this is not a matter in relation to the bill. This is a matter in relation to the administration of our courts that we definitely have. No, but Madam Speaker, I want it to be clear. A member, I know you're being fair, an extension would have fixed this. Even if we extend until next year, until the warrant is located, Madam Speaker, the person would not be able to be before the court. What we have had, Madam Speaker, and I'll tell you what will fix. What we have had, Madam Speaker, over the years is quite frankly a breakdown between the issuing of tickets, the issuing of warrants. What we're doing now, come February 1st, is the system will electronically, Madam Speaker, issue and track both tickets and warrants. So, Madam Speaker, it is a difficult scenario, but there is no fix in law that is before us for it. The only reprieve would come, Madam Speaker, if the person's outstanding ticket is prior to 2018. That's the only reprieve.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm a little bit taken aback at some sections of the presentation from the member from Southwest St. Elizabeth, because the member in his presentation gave the impression that this bill that is before us and the reprieve, be it that you want to call it a reprieve, an amnesty, it is a monkey, it is going to remain a monkey. Because as if this reprieve itself was one that was coming from the government to give the reprieve to motorists who have amassed these tickets. This reprieve came from the pressure that not only public transport operators had come out onto the streets to ask for the reprieve, but listening to the words of the Prime Minister yesterday, Madam Speaker, who somewhat said that the public sector workers, throwing blame on them for some of the ills that happen in the public sector, when at times we have to take some of the blame in this House. Because when we bring bills like these, then expect the courts to be efficient and to work. When we have given them a basket to carry water, in this instance, we are to take some blame. I've been asking, Madam Speaker, what has happened to the public education campaign that should come before the implementation of the New Road Traffic Act? The member from Southwest spoke about the amnesty of 2010 or 2017. What would have stopped this administration, the government, to do a similar? Because he speaks about just those persons who have amassed 400 tickets. I remember I was told in the House just a few weeks ago that those 400 tickets have not been amassed just over just a short period of time. And when the member is pointing fingers on the leader of opposition, that he's trying to kick the can down the road by giving a reprieve to those who have amassed those 400 plus tickets. This bill itself in Section 7 already gives those individuals a reprieve. Because Section 7 says that the Act shall continue in force from the date of the commencement and expire on January 31st, 2023. But Section 6 says all prescribed notices issued before February 1, 2018, for which payment of outstanding penalties have not been made, are hereby rendered void and of no effect. So the member is misleading the House as if the leader of the opposition is trying to give a reprieve to those. What we are saying on this side is that it is not only those who have 400 tickets, but we have been saying for quite a while that the new Road Traffic Act by itself and the penalties will not be the silver lining alone to deal with the chaos that is on the road or deal with road fatalities. Because let me remind members that majority of what is in the new Road Traffic Act is already in law. And it has not made a difference. The only difference is that we have now increased the penalties. And if we don't enforce the law, then we are still going to be just kicking the can down the road. So it is about the enforcement of the law. But to do with this bill, Madam Speaker, as you have been having a conversation with the member from North Trelawney and Southwest St. Elizabeth about the challenges that is being faced by the courts. I remember seeing a report where the court services said that they have challenges too in dealing with the influx of individuals that have descended on the courts. But what is sure is that the system that we had in place have not worked. And what we need to do is to recognize that it have not worked. That we end this reprieve at the end of this month, we're still having a system that is not working. The question is, how is it that we're going to, in the short term, fix the system that when one gets a ticket past the 21 days, that he is issued with a summons, and I'm sure that every one of us in this house would encourage every person who gets a ticket to pay it within the prescribed time. We on this side, we are not encouraging persons to amass tickets of those figures that we hear of. I, for one, do not encourage it. But if you are giving them a reprieve, don't do it in a way that the system itself doesn't work for them to benefit from that reprieve. And as the minister, the member has stated, it is not, you have given them the reprieve, Madam Speaker. And it is the same court that you're sending them to that is giving these individuals a date down in April. So what are you saying to those individuals? How is it then that you have given them the reprieve sent them to the court, and they have now been given a date in April. What will happen to those individuals? So, Madam Speaker, I support the amendment given by the Leader of the Opposition, because we have done it in the past where we have made amendments to the Act itself in sending them directly to the tax offices to deal with, because you have given a prescribed period. You have already said that if you pay it, you go to the courts, the points are null and void. This bill says so. So why not then unclog the court system? Make the amendment that was made by the Leader of the Opposition and have these individuals go to the tax office. Because come February 1, when the new Road Traffic Act comes into being, Madam Speaker, you're going to see a different other chaos out there by those who use the roadway. Madam Speaker, member, no, but you're speaking and I'm hearing. I'm surely not deaf. You are talking about the country not becoming better, but you have come to the country and you have told those users, those who have tickets, that they have a reprieve. But you have done it in a way that creates chaos. So you need to take some of the blame as a member of the cabinet who has approved this. And all we are saying is that the courts have given persons down to April date. Is that we make the amendment, Madam Speaker, from the end of January to April 30th as the end date, 2023. Madam Speaker, I would also hasten to ask the Minister of Transport, where is that public education campaign that was promised before the coming into being of the new Road Traffic Act? And what different will happen? Because I hear about this, the new automated ticketing system. We have the new Road Traffic Act coming into being. What will be different by the administration outside of those two components that will deal with the carnage on the road and deal with the chaos that we see on the road by some of our road users? Because the Act itself, Madam Speaker, will not be solving all that we are here talking about. And for me, Madam Speaker, to hear that we're using the Act in itself that will solve all our problems is misleading the country and those who use the road. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to make a small contribution to the bill entitled An Act to be Cited as the Road Traffic, Reprieve and Nullification of Prescribed Notices Act 2023. When this was laid on the House yesterday, Madam Speaker, Tuesday, a colleague said to me that this is the amnesty, and whether you want to call it by that name or not, a rose by any other name is still a rose. Smells just as sweet. The reality is, Madam Speaker, this is what is being given, but you're giving it and taking it back. And I say that, Madam Speaker, and I'll start at the very basis of the new Road Traffic Act. I had the privilege in 2015, Madam Speaker, of piloting this through this House. and subsequently in 2018 I spoke on it when it was piloted by the government of the day. One of the interesting things that came out of the deliberations, Madam Speaker, in 2015, prior to it being tabled and passed, as well as in 2018, was that there would have been a significant period of thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to speak from a seat other than my own, a significant period of educating the public about the provisions of the new Road Traffic Act. This was not done, Madam Speaker, to the extent that it should have been done. And basically what has happened is that a lot of Jamaicans out there, despite the fact that they hear of these onerous fines, the new fines that are coming, that's all they know about the new Road Traffic Act. And the public education that should have attended this particular passing in 2018 did not occur. Now, we have a situation, Madam Speaker, and you, Madam Speaker, know of a former colleague who used the word, we are where we are. We are where we are right now, Madam Speaker, in that we have a situation where the government is allowing persons who have tallied a whole series of tickets to pay it in the court, and the demerit points that would have been accrued have been nullified, and they are starting, as the Honourable Minister said, from zero, from scratch. But what we are doing, Madam Speaker, and we have seen evidence of it not only if you go to the traffic court on South Camp Road, or you go to the various courts across the island, what you see is a piling up of people there who initially, Madam Speaker, were under the impression that if they go to the court and pay right there, that everything would be okay. Not realizing, in fact, they were led by administrative decrees that that would have been the case. Only to find out that when they went, they were given a date to come back to court, and as the colleague of mine from South St. Andrew, the leader of the opposition, as well as from Northwest Manchester said, dates have been given in April, March, and as far away as April. Now, if those dates are given, and you are giving the people an opportunity, as this bill is being tabled, to nullify all those infractions that have occurred, then based on how this is presented, Madam Speaker, it will not give them an opportunity. And hence I support the provisions to be recommended by the leader of the opposition in having the expiration date towards the end of April, the 30th of April. Madam Speaker, there's another point that we need to discuss in all of this. The Honourable Minister said that there are about 46,000 Jamaicans who are owing tickets out there. In computing what he said, there are 7,000 tickets out there that need to be attended to. But included in some of these tickets, Madam Speaker, are people who have gone to the tax office, who have paid those traffic tickets, but there was some disconnect between the tax office and the courts, and hence some of those paid tickets have gone to the court. So you find that some of these persons who will be required to go to court have gone to the tax office before, and because of no fault of their own, they are being hauled before the court. That is unfair, Madam Speaker. That is injustice, and it's not justice for the people who have paid those tickets already. Madam Speaker, irrespective of how much direction that the Minister of Justice would give to the court administration for ramping up of the traffic court and the parish courts to deal with these, they just cannot deal with the amount of persons who present themselves on a daily basis to have this done. They're overwhelmed in these courts, Madam Speaker. Up to yesterday, the court administration of Jamaica issued a notice
which basically said that you come and you get an appointment that you have to come back to court some other time. You don't pay a ticket there. You don't pay for the ticket there. So we will see, Madam Speaker, as the court dates are filled up, that even if this is passed by the majority, that between now and the 30th of January, you will find persons going to court who may get dates as far away as June 2023 to settle their matter, and they will not benefit from what we are proposing to have here today, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is for those reasons just explained and for others why it is important that when you're making laws, you make good laws. You make laws that also are in sync with what happens out there in the population. Because, you know, Madam Speaker, you are saying essentially to these motorists, I'm giving you something in one hand and taking it back in the other hand. Madam Speaker, there are some persons who have tickets that are for offences committed in Westmoreland, in St. Anne, in Trelawney. And for them to settle this within the period of time, they would have to go to each of those parishes in those courts to have it settled. Yes. No. I am saying, and I do agree with you, but that is why I preface it by saying we are where we are. And if you are giving those persons an opportunity, you are giving those persons an opportunity. You, by this bill, are giving those persons.
Hold on. Members, I don't want us to have a quarrel or a cross-talk.
We're not quarreling, Madam
Hold
Speaker.
a minute. Because the matter, the bill that is before us, is very important. It affects the lives of those who have been grossly negligent and disrespectful of the law, and it affects those who are respectful of the law and have found themselves in peculiar circumstances. So whatever debate we have on this, I would like it to be handled in an orderly fashion. So at the end of the day, there is a clear understanding on all sides of the fences where it is the Road Traffic Act goes. As members of Parliament, we have a duty to represent at the highest possible level. And this act affects all the constituents that we have. So I ask us to let us handle it carefully, treat it with the regard and the respect that the matter deserves.
Madam Speaker, not to interrupt my friend, but I'm wondering, you know, I sat and allowed, but he keeps repeating something, Madam Speaker, that the bill does not provide for. And I genuinely believe that's what gets us into a spot of bother. Right? So I will wait until the end.
I don't think it's a point of order. Member, what is important, I think at the end of the day, is for us to have a clear understanding. And I think the point that the minister rose to say is that the period that we have is not being treated by the government as an amnesty period. So let us understand that those are the directives of the government.
And Madam Speaker, why it's probably a point of order to provide some clarity is because if you define it wrongly, you get the wrong outcome. In other words, the two areas of reprieve have been specifically stipulated. If you have a ticket before 2018, that ticket will be made null. If you have points, Madam Speaker, one should recognize points are only given when the road traffic ticket is paid. So it's not an amnesty. So when my friend says a number of things, the point is the reprieve is clear. So my friend who may have had infractions and has points on the system, he will benefit from those points being wiped clear, as will most of us.
And Madam Speaker,
So, Madam Speaker, the people who, and that's why I rise, Madam Speaker. The people who have points means that their tickets have been paid. You do not get points unless your tickets is dealt with. Right? You don't get points unless your tickets are dealt with. So the wiping away of tickets are for people who have dealt with their tickets already, Madam Speaker.
So the reprieve is to notify the court and the other reprieve, as I understand it, is if your tickets was prior to 2018, whether you had a ticket, a warrant, that is nullified. But if you have something after 2018 that you have not paid, you must go to the courts to deal with it.
Madam Speaker, we are not on dissimilar grounds. What I had said to the member from West Kingston in the Soto-Vosha comment was that you cannot do that in a day or two as this bill is allowing. That's just the point of diverge. But if you'll allow me to get back to what I'm saying, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know, despite my good friend across there speaking about it and getting very antsy about it, Madam Speaker, I am sure that there is some amount of considerable discomfiture with this bill from even my colleagues from the other side, some colleagues from the other side. Madam Speaker, I sat when the point of order came up at the point where I was speaking about people going to 4 different parishes to pay their tickets. The point is, Madam Speaker, inasmuch as they had committed some transgression by not paying their tickets after 21 days, we have reached a situation that they have actually, as I said, we are where we are. It means that there's going to be a loss of time for people who are working. It means that come the 1st of February, if they have not satisfied those, what will happen is that they may run the risk of, 1, not being able to renew their driver's license, 2, they might not even be able to license their motor vehicle at all. And we may find, Madam Speaker, that the very points that things that we are trying to prevent will encourage more slackness out there, because you'll find those said persons will be driving without a proper driver's license, will be driving a vehicle that is not registered. And it is for that particular reason, Madam Speaker, or in short, I'm suggesting, Madam Speaker, that we rethink this particular bill and look at the recommendations made by the leader of the opposition, which speaks to the commencement date and the expiration date being the 30th of April. If it please you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, in light of the difficulty that we have, not only perceived but pointed out with the bill, I'm wondering if the acting leader of government business and myself and the team could pause just for a moment to consider the position that we're putting forward, and perhaps, Madam Speaker, you might be disposed to allowing us a little break, 5 minutes or so, just to try and see if we can resolve this. This is too important for us. You want to prepare? Yes.
Thank you, Alida. Members, the question before the House is that we be suspended for 10 to 15 minutes to allow both leaders of business of both houses to have some discussions with this matter. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now suspended until, let's work it out, until for 15 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now suspended.
Every Jamaican has the right to know what is happening in Parliament, to know when new laws are being passed, and to give their opinions on legislation before either house.
Every Jamaican has the right to see their representatives in action, making laws, holding the executive to account, representing the people, working for the benefit of all Jamaicans.
It is your right to observe first-hand meetings of the Senate, meetings of the House of Representatives, and the meetings of parliamentary committees. You may also take a tour of your parliament.
To find out more about the Houses of Parliament, please call 876-922-0200, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or visit our website at www.japarliament.gov.jm.
How do bills become law in Jamaica? Laws are made to create order, to ensure our safety, and to protect our rights against abuses by other citizens, organizations, and even the government itself. A bill is a proposal for either a new law or for a change to an existing law. Jamaica's parliament is responsible for making our laws, and that responsibility is shared between two houses. There are 21 parliamentarians appointed from both political parties to the upper house, also known as the Senate. And there are 63 members of parliament that we, the people, elect to the lower house, also known as the House of Representatives. To pass a law, there is a minimum of 6 stages required in each house. The process can begin in the upper house by a senator or in the lower house by your member of parliament. And their proposals for a new bill can certainly start with you, the citizen. Now, since the process often begins in the House of Representatives, let's start there. 1. The first stage begins with the introduction by the minister responsible for the bill, followed by the first reading of the bill by the clerk to the houses. This clerk is more like the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer for the Parliament. An announcement of the bill is published in the Gazette. This is a public newsletter that the government uses to inform the citizens of what the Parliament is doing on your behalf. 2. The second reading begins with a summary of the bill by the minister. The main reasons for the bill are discussed both by the government and opposition members to determine if Jamaicans would really be better off with the new law or changes to an existing law. A vote is taken by the House to determine if the bill will move to the committee stage. Sometimes before going to that stage, the minister responsible for the bill can recommend the use of a joint select committee. It's called joint as its members are taken from both the upper and lower house. To benefit from greater consultation, the committee is empowered to invite the public to share their views of the bill in writing or in person, and does so through radio, TV, and newspaper adverts. This joint select committee submits its recommendations to the House of Representatives. The House debates this report, and a vote is taken to determine if the bill should go on to the committee stage, where it is examined by a committee of the whole House. Yes, that's the name. And that's what it is, a committee of all the members of Parliament that carefully examines each clause and makes improvements to ensure the bill will achieve its objectives. As chairman, the Speaker of the House monitors the process to make sure the rules of the House are obeyed and the process moves along smoothly. 4. The committee of the whole House examines the bill clause by clause, then sends its recommendations for changes to the House of Representatives. This is called the report stage. 5. The bill then passes to the third reading to allow a final opportunity for MPs to make changes before it is sent to senators in the upper house. 6 to 10. In the upper house, the senators go through the same steps we just described. If any changes are made, the bill has to be returned to the House of Representatives for their discussion and approval. Now, if the bill had started in the upper house, it would also have to be returned to them for approval of any changes made by the lower house. 11. Throughout the entire process, the bill is being checked by the Legislative Council. That's the Parliament's lawyer. But before the last step, a copy is sent to the Attorney General of Jamaica for final review and certification. 12. If all is well, the bill is sent to receive the royal assent from the Governor General as the representative of the Queen, Elizabeth II. The bill is now an Act of Parliament. The Act is gazetted, and the rights of Jamaicans are further preserved and protected by a new law.
There is a fundamental and irreconcilable conflict between the interests of the tobacco industry and public policy interests. The tobacco industry, for profit, produces and promotes a product that has been scientifically proven to be highly addictive and causes millions of deaths per year. This is in conflict with the intent of public policies, particularly those related to safeguarding the health and well-being of citizens. In keeping with Jamaica's treaty obligations, the proposed Tobacco Control Act makes provision for the strict regulation of the interaction between public officials and the tobacco industry. Strong tobacco control policies, such as the provisions in the proposed act, will safeguard public health policies and give the next generation a chance to live and breathe easily.
Do you wish there were a way your community could get funding to improve a school, health center, sports program, and more? There is! It's the Constituency Development Fund. Here are a few things you probably didn't know about the CDF and how you can make it work better for you. The CDF policy promotes citizen participation in community development and protection of taxpayers' funds. It outlines that MPs are to meet with citizens at least once every 2 years to agree on the projects needed. You know, it used to be once a year? We should really go back to that. Projects developed without community consultation are not to be approved by the bipartisan CDF Parliamentary Committee. There are 26 government agencies that implement projects, usually for a small fee. Funds are provided directly from the Office of the Prime Minister to the implementing agency, not through the Member of Parliament. The CDF unit monitors project costs and implementation, so if you have questions about how the CDF are run in your community, contact them. To ensure no one project or community gets all the funds, there are 6 project categories with spending limits for each. There must be no less than 5 and no more than 20 projects each year. To learn more, visit jampja.org to view your MP's CDF info and tell them how this fund has impacted you. If you don't see your MP's CDF reports, then put them under little pressure, man. Call, tweet, email. Ask them when they'll submit it and when is the next CDF meeting. Change is possible. It's already happening. What we need is you.
A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Let us resolve our family disputes peacefully. A family is a circle of love, support, and strength. Violence has no place.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Develop a sense of purpose that says you're not here by accident. You are here for greatness. You are here with destiny in mind. You are supposed to do something great, and you are on that pathway. There are persons who are in the departure lounge of life, at the end of their life, and they look back and they have regret because they never took time to uncover and develop a sense of purpose. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do before I leave this 7 billion people planet called Earth? What am I supposed to accomplish? Having a sense of greatness that's in you. You're talented, you have gifts and abilities. Some of you are good with numbers, some of you are good with words, some of you are good with both, some of you are artistic, creative, some of you are sports oriented, and there are many things. And you take time to discover what are you passionate about. What can I just do naturally? I can jump out of my sleep and do it easily. Speaking now to your talents and abilities, your giftings. All of these come into your sense of purpose. The things that you are to do in life as you are to impact people. When you dream, when you close your eyes, what do you see yourself doing? And knowing that the sky is the limit. Second thing I want to say quickly is that you must learn to persevere. I heard Marquis speak about perseverance. Everybody say perseverance. Sometimes we don't achieve much because we give up too easily. You have to learn, if you want good, your nose have to. Yes, man, you have to get your feelings hurt and still go on. When I was doing my PhD, boy, a man tell me, man, people seem to like you. Wayne, why don't you just leave this program and go back to your country? You have a master's. The PhD is not for you. Why don't go and make money? And that was a racist comment because I was black. I was the only black person in the program. And he was saying things that hurt me, and I didn't want him to see me offended. I left his presence, went into my room, and I cried. But I decided to continue in my effort for excellence. Are you hearing me? And so perseverance means to continue a course of action in spite of difficulty, in spite of opposition. When they fight you down, when bad mind reach you, and they're fighting you down, and they say you're not the right gender, young ladies, and they say you don't deserve to be here, don't pay no attention, press on nonetheless. And it means you also have to have the right people around you. Be careful of the company you keep. As you go through life, you're going to make mistakes. As you go through life, you may fail at something. You want people around you who can encourage you to get up again.
Jamaicans, look on the murder rate. You think that normal? We need to get every illegal gun and save our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Mommy?
Yes, Zoe?
Can we read this book? It will only take 10 minutes.
Sure, sit down. Every spring, Madame Angel Wing arranges.
Do you have 10 minutes? Read with your child today. Reading with your children for just 10 minutes each day helps develop their language and listening skills, stimulates their imagination, and expands their understanding of the world. So, start reading with your child today.
Crime and violence is infecting our youth. We must work together to rescue them from the gangs, engage them in productive activities, and safeguard Jamaica's future.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
People always say government must be held accountable. But it's whose job to keep government accountable, and what that really mean? Well, you see, when ministers and public officials have to provide answers for decisions made and can face consequences for those actions and decisions, that means they're being held accountable. Keeping government accountable is a key responsibility of our elected representatives, and the Parliament provides special tools or mechanisms just for this. As citizens, we need to understand how they work so we can play our part to ensure that the members of Parliament we elect are using the tools and doing their job well. Here are 4 of the primary tools you should understand and talk to your MP about. Tool number 1, Minister's Statements. To effectively monitor the government, MPs need to stay informed. Every Tuesday when Parliament sits, different cabinet ministers are scheduled to give an update on decisions they're making on our behalf. These updates are called Statements by Ministers. They cover a wide range of national issues that other MPs, media, and citizens may have questions about and wish to examine further. That brings us to tool number 2. What you do when you want information? You ask questions, and that's why we have Question Time. Both opposition and government MPs can submit questions to the Prime Minister or Cabinet Ministers for details on, for example, how a contract was awarded or expenditure to purchase tablets for schools. So if you ever have a question for a government minister, try asking through your MP. After all, that's why they're your political representatives.
they should represent your questions and concerns to the government. Tool number 3, parliamentary debates. When cabinet ministers present the government's proposals for new policies, laws, and programs, parliamentary debates allow both opposition and government MPs to air concerns, make suggestions, and endorse proposals. If you ever watch those debates, you know they can get a little fiery. But the debate is important as it informs decisions and continues until a vote is taken on the way forward. Then we have tool number 4, parliamentary committees. The general sittings of Parliament are not always sufficient for detailed examination of government work, so oversight committees are formed using government and opposition members to do just that. Some committees like the PAC and the PAAC are in place for an entire parliamentary term. Their job is to monitor the use of public funds to find ways to increase value and efficiency while reducing waste and corruption. Cabinet and state ministers are not appointed to oversight committees since they are a part of the government. Some committees are formed when a need arises. For example, joint select committees are formed to review draft policies or legislation or to probe other matters of serious national importance. Members of these committees are both opposition and government MPs and senators, and these committees will usually invite citizens to share their opinions, concerns, and recommendations. So there you have it, 4 accountability tools of Parliament that are used to make sure government run right. Visit jampja.org to find contact information for your MP. Invite them to meet with the community so they can better represent your issues and concerns in Parliament and keep government accountable. Get involved and let's make Jamaica land we love, Jamaica land we own, and Jamaica land we run well. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Here is a special parenting message brought to you by the National Family Planning Board, 5 Sylvan Avenue, Kingston 5. There's no job more important than parenting. That was a special parenting message brought to you by the National Family Planning Board, 5 Sylvan Avenue, Kingston 5.
Hey you! Yes you! Let's go on a public sector journey together. Check your rear view and lit the gas. We all rely on public sector workers, from hospitals and care workers to schools, where our children get the education in emergency situations when we're most in need. In turn, public sector workers are paid by us. The current compensation structure in the public sector is complex, inconsistent, and inequitable. That's about to change. Welcome to the new compensation system. The new system is simple and easily understood. It's consistent, enabling equitable application and transparency across the public sector. It will reward high performance and it's sustainable. The government of Jamaica is committed to investing in its people and building a better public sector for.
Here's how we sign the alphabet.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sign with me?
Money! So what you say, talk to me, right?
It takes so long, man. People have places for going, you know. Get them on the urban table number.
Have your nice. You know how much people me have to deal with before me reach here, sir? You're lucky.
Put 3 bills for number 5.
Wait. We can place my bets with you?
Yeah, man. You see, when you win with we, you get a little extra.
So what you say?
Police, nobody move.
Illegal gambling is a criminal offense. If convicted, you could face a fine of up to $1 million or up to 18 months in prison. When gambling, choose licensed and registered gaming establishments. Stop illegal gambling now. Call Crime Stop at 311 To report illegal gambling, you don't have to give your name. A message from the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission.
If you are experiencing symptoms of the monkeypox virus, including fever, intense headache, swelling of the lymph nodes, back pain, muscle ache, lack of energy, and/or a rash on the skin, you must self-isolate immediately and call ahead to your health center or doctor before visiting. The virus may enter the body through broken skin, even if not visible, the respiratory tract, or mucous membranes, eyes, nose, or mouth, and has an incubation period of between 5 and 21 days. The spread of monkeypox may occur when a person comes into close contact with an infected animal, direct contact with monkeypox skin lesions or scabs of an infected person, contact with clothing or linen such as bedding or towels used by an infected person, and the coughing or sneezing of an individual with a monkeypox rash. Wear a mask. Frequently wash hands and practice physical distancing as part of the infection prevention and control efforts. For additional information on monkeypox, visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness website at moh.gov.jm or contact the local public health department. Whenever you hear the following tone, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, will be giving information on an emergency situation affecting the island. Please be on the alert and listen to your radio and television for further information. This was a test of the Emergency Alert System, brought to you by ODPEM.
Remember that big project the government announced them was going to from when? You ever catch yourself a wonder what happened to it? Stop wonder like an outsider and start move like the country belong to you. You have a right to publicly owned information, and the Access to Information Act gives you that power. I know you have enough questions about how government are run or not run, so let me show you how it works. Say mosquito spraying going on in your community, your children asthmatic and you want to know what chemicals are in it. Or what about that Auditor General report on a public official getting twice his salary with no proper approval? Is your taxes and you want to know if they paid it back? First, do some basic searching to see what is already on government websites. If you don't see what you're looking for, make a formal ATI request by completing the application form on the ATI site or sending a letter or email. And remember, you don't have to say why you need it. It is your right to know. Make sure you send your request to the right agency, and once they confirm receipt, they get
Madam Speaker, if there are no other speaker in the, then we have to. You'd like to? You want to do it at committee level, or you have?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to ask the Minister of Transport is not here, but Minister of Justice is here. Seeing that the February 1 is when, or the end of this month, is when the proposed end of what is supposed to be in this bill is to be made. Seeing that the bill has not yet been passed, what will be the issue, Madam Speaker, of those who have gone to the courts, have paid their tickets, the fines or that are associated with their tickets, and have accumulated points? Because, Madam Speaker, just as a layman, those points would not be null and void prior to the passing of this bill. So, can the minister basically, well, tell the House, how is it that those who have paid their tickets, the fines on those tickets, yet so far, how will those thousands of individuals be dealt with, since this bill has not yet been passed. And I would figure that the court itself, seeing that this is not yet in law, it's only an announcement by the minister, how will then have the courts dealt with those points for those individuals? And how is it expected to be dealt with moving forward?
My understanding, just for information, is that points don't arise until the tickets are paid. Right. Points don't arise until the tickets are paid. So to the extent that everything will now be in the hands of the judge, everything can be determined by the judge. That's my understanding. In other words, no, my understanding is that the judge can make a determination, just like the judge can adjust the penalty. Yeah, no. Even now, the judge can say, wipe everything clean. The judge can do that. It is in the authority of the judge. Yes. No, those who have gone to court and pay up to January the 31st automatically will wipe. No. Once they have gone to court and paid.
Once they have points as of January 31st.
Those points, so that will be instructions to the IT, the Inland Revenue, Inland Transport.
House Leader, if there are no other contributions to the bill, the Minister will close. Beg your pardon? That's what Minister?
Madam Speaker, first thing I'd like to point out is that on page 2 of the bill, in section 2, where it says, ending on January 1, 2023, that should read ending on January 31st, 2023. I'd like to note that we have to make that correction in the committee stage. Madam Speaker, I don't have a lot to say in closing because what is clear is that this issue is being left into the hands of the judges, basically, the hands of the judges. And we're encouraging everyone to get their date for court before the 31st. Even if they don't go to court before the 31st, they need to get a date for the court before the end of the month. And thereafter, the system will allow them to speak to the judge and appeal to the judge, to ask the judge for a payment plan where you have large numbers of tickets. You just have to ask the judge for a payment plan. because the judges will themselves realize that it is not the system that has been there over the years allowed this amalgamation of traffic tickets inappropriately. So to get out now, it will be quite reasonable for the judges to give a payment plan in order to clear up the outstanding amounts. So in terms of the information campaign, that is something which has started, but it will be accelerated. And in terms of the new Road Traffic Act. And I think that going forward, we just have to remind everyone that we need to respect our laws and act appropriately in respecting our laws. Very important. So, Madam Speaker, I beg for second reading of the bill.
Members of the House, the question is that the bill be read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
A bill entitled An Act to Afford Persons a Period of Reprieve to Address Outstanding Matters Related to Prescribed Notices Issued prior to February 1, 2023 under Section 116 of the Road Traffic Act 1938 and to nullify demerit points recorded against all drivers' licenses prior to February 1, 2023. Read a second time.
The House will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole House to consider the bill clause by clause. Members, I put clause 1. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I put clause 2.
Madam Speaker, in clause 2, where it says we have to delete the words January 1, 2023 and substitute the words January 31, 2023.
Definition of.
Yes.
So the amendment is to delete January 1st to January 31st, 2020. Yes.
Yes, I have a proposed amendment to the definition of the reprieve period, which currently means a period specified in Section 7. And the background as to why I'm proposing this is that persons have been, since January began, based on announcements made and so on, have been trying their best to attend the traffic courts to take advantage of this reprieve. But as currently worded, the reprieve period has not yet begun. So even if they have paid their tickets in that period since the beginning of January, they don't come within the reprieve period, which is not, I think, the intent of this arrangement. So I'm proposing that the reprieve period definition be changed to read, reprieve period means the period commencing on January 1, 2023 and ending on the date of expiration of this act.
So, Madam Speaker, Chair, sorry. So, Chair, the reprieve, the amendment I would suggest would not be necessary, right? We have to look at the reprieve that is being granted. The reprieve that is being granted is that the demerit points that are recorded against the license would be nullified come the 1st of February. So all demerit points that have been recorded against the license as at January 31st would be nullified. Just to explain how it works, Madam Chair, the persons who would have gone into court, whether it be, let us say, December, January, today, and would have treated with their matter, they would have got points awarded, right? So they would have points, Madam Speaker, come the 31st that will be nullified. So in other words, you do not need to extend the reprieve period to achieve the nullification of the points, because as it is structured, as of the 31st, any points you have against your license will be nullified.
Just in response to that, the reprieve period is dealt with in clauses 3 and 4 of the bill. The nullification of demerit points is dealt with in clause 5 of the bill. So what the minister just indicated is actually incorrect, because the reprieve provisions are in 3 and 4 and deal with the liability to be convicted of the offence in respect of which the ticket is paid, and the fact that proceedings cannot be taken against that qualifying person as long as they've done this in the reprieve period. That is what 3 and 4 say. 5 has nothing to do with reprieve. 5 is simply an automatic nullification of demerit points after
again,
once it's been paid. Yeah. So it's not, 5 is not about reprieve, nor is 6. 5 and 6 are, and the way in which the merit points are being addressed is not through the reprieve system. It's a separate system in 5 and 6. The reprieve is in 3 and 4. And I'm saying it doesn't make sense to have a reprieve period which begins next week when the Act expires next week. And people have been behaving on the basis that they're getting the reprieve, and they've been rushing to do that.
Madam Speaker, again, our chair, again, the reprieve period indicates that where a person has paid an outstanding traffic penalty, proceedings shall not be taken against that person. Right, Madam Speaker, that is as happens now, where a person pays an outstanding traffic penalty, proceedings will not be taken. In other words, there doesn't need to be an extensive reprieve period. And that is why the bill was so structured. Because, again, if you go into court now, Madam Speaker, and you do pay your outstanding traffic penalty, then no proceedings are taken against you.
So you're saying clauses 3 and 4 are redundant?
I'm saying clauses 3 and 4 are put in just for completeness.
Just for completeness?
Completeness.
The whole reprieve system is just for completeness, and will only probably exist for a day or less, because what are the chances of this act actually commencing before it expires?
It's for completeness, Madam Speaker. What we have indicated is that between February 1, 2018 and January 31st, 2023, that persons are to use the regular means of treaty with outstanding tickets, right? For completeness, 3 and 4 have been put in place to ensure that we are clear that once the act comes into force, it's just for completeness.
But it all turns upon them acting within the reprieve period. And the reprieve period hasn't begun and will not begin until the act commences. And the act may not even commence before it expires.
Yeah.
Because today is Thursday, tomorrow is, the Senate is going to deal with it. Then we have a weekend. Monday is the 30th and Tuesday is the 31st is the last, and the act expires next week Tuesday. That's what clause 7 says. So how can you have a reprieve period which doesn't even begin until the act expires?
So, Madam Speaker, Chair, I hear the member. Again, I think it is, as I indicated before, if somebody now has an outstanding ticket and goes into court to treat with it, then ultimately, once that ticket is, that penalty is paid, no proceedings will be taken, right? What it does, Madam Speaker, is just for the reprieve program, reprieve period, codify what is status quo.
Minister Green, and this makes it very clear. The reprieve period is really the period February the 1st, 2018 to January the 31st. Any penalty or demerit points that was given to a person who was paid the ticket, it would expire. So this should be changed, Madam Speaker, that the reprieve period means the period February the 1st, 2018. February the 1st, 2018 to January the 31st, January the 31st, 2023. Make it very clear.
Fine. I'm suggesting that it begins on January 1 because that's when the announcements had been made that people should start. But I have no problem with it being from
because
February
all
1,
of those
2018.
penalties that accumulated up from 2018.
I'm good with that.
Yes.
That's more expansive than I was suggesting.
Right. So the reprieve period means the period February 1st, 2018 to January the 31st, 2023. And in fact, 7 will change to say this act expires on January the 31st, 2023. Something. There. So you don't have to talk about the date of commencement. It just expired because we're given the reprieve up to that date.
To January 31st,
2023.
2023. That makes more sense, yeah.
The problem with it, though, is that persons who have not been able to pay their tickets until after the expiration of the act next Tuesday, because their court dates, the court couldn't facilitate them, are not going to get the benefit of the expungement and nullification of the demerit points. And that is really an unfair arrangement. Because it's not that they didn't try.
The only point I would say, Leader of the Opposition, you're right, but they put themselves at the mercy of the court, and the court can make a decision when it adjudicates. In other words, let us be very frank. No, this has been the contention, Leader of the Opposition. Many persons, having got a ticket, have not paid during the 21 days afforded. After 21 days, they have not gone to court and pay. For many, long periods of time have passed, and now they're asking for a convenient way to pay. The position of the government is no convenient way is going to be provided. You go to court, and the court can make a decision.
If that's the way the government wants to approach it, and it must be done through the courts, I disagree with that. I don't think that's a practical way of approaching it, but that's the way the government wants to deal with it. Fair enough, but you can't give with one hand and take away with another. You can't provide a window, and when they seek to avail themselves of that window, it is not possible to do so because the courts are overwhelmed and can't give them a date for settling their liability within the reprieve period. It doesn't make sense to do that. So they can't get the benefit of the nullification of their demerit points if they do not pay prior to the end of January. And they can't pay prior to the end of January because the court can't accommodate them. That is unfair and illogical.
Chair, there's
absolutely nothing unfair about it, Madam Speaker. We have spent many hours discussing this issue. The individuals who are complaining now is not having 5 days to pay. They have had some of them have 4 years, 2 years, 3 years. They breached the law and they disrespected the law. They had time to go to court. The government has given them a fixed time, and if they fail to get in it, that's just how it is. If we keep extending this law, the entire ticketing system, which is critical to public order, was acquired in 2009. And for this kind of delay, it has never been executed. Every agency come a break. We had 2 amnesty, which have created great confusion in the system. We have set a date with a reasonable time. Closure will come on the 31st of January. Because it is critical for effective execution that there's a date of closure. The software, they require technical people, have spent many hours working hard together to get to a point where we could create a date of closure. To change that now is disrespectful of their own effort. And the individuals who are seeking mercy, many of them will still not pay in 2 months' time. They seek further and further extension. As The member from St. Mary's spoke when I spoke the last time. He's behind you. They have had meetings of the kind we have done for the last 4 years. I chaired the subcommittee, then we had Minister Green took charge on the weekly basis to get to this point because there are people seeking mercy. The individuals who did not pay, and the government is not waving on this, they are caught in the end because they had no intention of paying. It's only in recent weeks when they realized we are going to take this thing to closure and implement a ticketing system that we can hold them accountable. We got the courts adjusted, we got the IT implemented, we are moving, and the government is not moving on this. We are beginning on the 1st of February, effective then. The teams are on standby from Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Transport, the court system. In fact, to get here, the very Chief Justice got involved not on the legislation, but to make sure his court had the required supporting service to execute. We cannot allow a few miscreants to delay and further, concede anything. What we are looking at is a fundamental system in executing good public order. And the few who are complaining are not deserving of any further concession.
Well, I'm not proposing that we don't have a closure date. There must be a closure date. But it should be a closure date that the system can accommodate. The problem with your arrangement, Minister Chang, is that your system can't accommodate the reprieve that you're trying to put in place. And persons who have attempted to utilize it are getting set a date for in March and April to settle the tickets, having gone into court to try and take advantage of the arrangement.
We recognize that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. We did not say a reprieve to give. We gave an opportunity. And the reprieve was there for those who could use the opportunity. People are waiting. They have had their tickets a long time. I didn't tell them not to pay the tickets. They're out there laughing after the police.
The system has been fraught with problems, Minister Chan. There are people who have paid and their payments are not registered on the system. You do not have a clean database. When they go into, the court has recently published their concerns about the fact that you cannot just go in there and immediately settle with them because their systems don't permit that. So, to my mind, it is an exercise in futility to take this here and not allow persons who, in good faith now, want to take advantage of this reprieve that you provided but can't do so. You're not facilitating them doing so.
Chair,
I'm not sure it doesn't make any sense to me as to why.
I would love to make an intervention. I realize, Chair, that the leader of the opposition focuses his conversation in relation to a section of the population. The majority of the population will get reprieve, Madam Speaker. The people who acted in good faith, who paid their tickets, and who have points ascribed to their license, those points will be written off. The majority of Jamaicans will see reprieve from this bill. Full stop. There's no if, there's no but, there's no maybe. You see, Madam Speaker, sometimes in these conversations, we focus, and that's why I gave the figures, Madam Speaker. What we are trying to ensure that we don't have a challenge with, again, and the leader of the opposition said it, whether there were challenges with the system, what we want to ensure, the people who went in good faith and paid, those are the people who had points ascribed to their licenses. They will benefit tremendously because they will be starting afresh come the 1st of February. So, Madam Speaker, to try and give the impression that it's a give and take away, that's not the case. What is clear is that those who acted early, those who acted in good faith, those will see significant benefit. And over 70% of our population have done that, Madam Speaker, and should be acknowledged and should be rewarded.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be rewarded, but what about the 20 to 30% that may have gone in and been given a court date in March or April?
So, Madam Speaker, and again, I think, Madam Speaker, hold on, just let me finish the point. Minister Chuck made the point. Minister Chuck made the point, Madam Speaker. When persons go in, the judges now will have their discretion, right? And the judges will treat with the matters on a case-by-case basis. You know, Madam Speaker, up to today, Up to today, I was advised that somebody went in with a ticket and the judge threw out the ticket, right? They had an outstanding ticket. They hadn't dealt with it for years. They went in, they came before the judge. For whatever reason, the judge threw out the ticket. So the reality, we must not always believe that going before the judge means that some ill will befall you, right? But what we're saying now is that the system the judge will adjudicate on these matters that come after the 31st of January.
In clause 2, I ask for this amendment. Reprieve period means the period commencing February the 1st, 2018 and ending on January the 31st, 2023.
We have the amendment. The second amendment actually is reprieve period means the period beginning
commencing February the 1st, 2018. Commencing February the 1st, 2018. And ending on January the 31st.
February 1st, 2018. And ending on January 31st, 2023. Those in favor?
Aye.
And the first amendment in that section
was the 31st of January.
February, I think it's the 5th line in 2, where it reads commencing on February 1st, 2018 and ending on January 1st, which 2023 should read January 31st, 2023. So there are two amendments to clause 2. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. I now put clause 3. 2 and 3. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I now put members, for the records, I'm going to put the question back to you. Clause 2 as amended, meaning January 1st, 23, amended to read January 31st, 2023, and reprieve period means commencing February 1st, 2018 to January 31st, 2023.
As amended.
As amended. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I now put clause 4. Those in favor?
Aye.
Put clause 5. Those in favor?
Aye.
I put clause 6. Those in favor?
Aye.
I put clause 7.
Madam Speaker, there's an amendment. Could we just amend clause 7 to read?
So we are at now, I put clause 6. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? I now put clause 7.
It should read, remove what is now there, Madam Speaker, and put this act shall expire on February the 1st, 2023. For completion. Shall expire on February the 21st, 2023.
One question I have. What is the effect of that expiration on the provisions of 5 and 6?
On 5 and 6?
In other words, why is 7 necessary? Because 5 and 6 are providing an ongoing benefit, which is supposed to last in perpetuity. Why do we need the act to expire if the reprieve period, as you have redefined it, ends on January 31st?
Good point.
I think you're creating a legal quagmire by making the act expire when provisions in it are supposed to last in perpetuity. Yeah.
For the House is that clause 7 be deleted. Those in favor? I now put the title and the enacting clause. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Two amendments. I should have said it. I know. Members, while we're in committee stage, the question that I put before you is that I report to the House that the bill has been passed at committee stage with 3 amendments. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Members of the House, I do report the bill as having passed committee stage with 3 amendments. Those in 3 amendments. Third reading of the bill.
Madam Speaker, I would just like to repeat that those who have outstanding, I'm sorry? Yes. Madam Speaker, I beg to read for third reading of the bill. And in asking for that, just to remind everyone, seek to make an arrangement with the court between now and Tuesday. Okay. Thank you.
Third reading of the bill. Madam Clerk.
A bill entitled An Act to Afford Persons a Period of Reprieve to Address Outstanding Matters Related to Prescribed Notices issued prior to February 1, 2023 under Section 116 of the Road Traffic Act 1938 and to nullify the merit points recorded against all drivers' licenses prior to February 1, 2023, read a third time and passed.
Madam Speaker, it's not proposed to have any further business for the rest of the day. Should I ask that the House be adjourned to a date to be fixed, Ms. Clerk? To a date to be fixed.
Members of the House, the question before the House is that the House do adjourn for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now adjourned.